Ladies and gentlemen, we are live 1 minute early, under budget, and ahead of schedule. Unfortunate for the fucking communists, but very fortunate for us here. Welcome to the show. Glad to be back. Jesus Christ, it has been too long of a fucking absence. Holy shit, I have been very upset without being able to be here properly. To give a quick recap, I've been fortunate enough to spend the last 2 weekends with my lovely fiance, which I don't always have the opportunity of doing. But I'm here today as soon as I had the ability, the capability, and the time to do so. And I'm glad to see you all. And before we get to the fucking communists, I want to take a minute to appreciate everybody. You know, one of the reasons I started this show is because I wanted to do what at the time I felt like no one was doing, which is speaking out against these issues, difficult issues to speak out against. Black Lives Matter. What's up, sexy? Josh Pilardi, you sexy motherfucker. Speaking out against these issues that I wasn't seeing anyone do at the time. It was very unpopular when I was doing this, when it originally happened. And, I realized that I was trying to do a video game streaming channel, and it wasn't working because I was playing video games, but I was distracted by this shit. Fucking communists rioting in our streets and shit. So, I needed to come out. Thank you for liking the stream, my friend. Share the stream. Expose fucking communists. Because we have a fucking doozy in store today, let me tell you. But, I had to really do something and speak out about it because nobody was. And what I've noticed, and maybe it's just the way my Facebook algorithm is, but I don't believe it, because I'm seeing individuals that weren't doing it before. We are affecting people and making a change. People who were afraid to speak out are becoming empowered to speak out. And I could not be happier. And I'm not taking credit or responsibility. It's each and every one of our own individual decisions. Although there was one young lady who actually told me specifically that I inspire her to speak out against these things. And I appreciate that a great deal. And I hope that everyone watching, I hope that I inspire you to speak out and to say the truth and to not be silent and not let these people spew propaganda and regurgitate the same shit that's been pumped into their head. You know what I mean? This is a war for our culture. This is a war for our minds, okay? They want to occupy this space so they can occupy this space. But if we don't allow them in here, then they can never make it over here, okay? Ideology can be the enemy. Ideology can be evil, okay? And Marxism, socialism, communism, call it whatever the fuck you want, it's oppression. Okay? It's big government and it's oppression. There's never been a situation where a big, all-controlling government has been beneficial to the people. It has not ever happened. You can manipulate whatever the fuck situation you want, but a big, giant, all-controlling government is not beneficial to the people. A free and open society whose government is there to work for them and protect them and not control them is what is beneficial to the people. And the answer to that is not communism or socialism, or any sort of anything that comes from the brain of that fucking moron lunatic, Karl fucking Marx. Okay? Karl fucking Marx. It's unfortunate because you have a great gentleman like Carl Winslow, okay? A fictitious police officer whose name is besmirched by sharing it with fucking Karl Marx. Absolutely unacceptable. But I want to take this opportunity today, like I said, to thank everyone. Whether you're watching my show, sharing my show, or even if you don't even know about my show and you're going to watch this for the first time long after it's aired, if you are going and speaking the truth and saying what the fuck is going on in this world and not being afraid of others, you are contributing to this fight. It is a fight for our culture. We cannot let these fucking Marxists go on unchecked and control the ideology of social media, setting a norm where if you disagree with them, then you are ostracized. We are still the majority. Moderates who might even be brainwashed and hate Donald Trump, but still don't want fucking communism in this country. These people need to stand up against it. Everyone needs to stand up against it. It is all of our duties. It is all of our opportunities. Now, what we're going to do today to expose these fucking communists is we're going to take a walk to a place that I love, which is Project Veritas Video, an outlet that is really different from everybody else because everything that they do is based on undercover work. It's based on undercover exposés. They send people in to infiltrate these organizations and then record the leaders in these organizations and record the methods that they're using and then put it online for the world to see. And here's something that came out before the riots happened. This happened before the riots. What we're about to go through today. Well, first I'll play the trailer and then we'll talk about it.
I'm an anarcho-communist.
Pretty much anarcho-syndicalism.
There's a lot of me's in the Bernie campaign. Bernie doesn't get the nomination in Milwaukee.
Trying to retract truly radical people.
Walk into that MSNBC studios, drag those motherfuckers up by their hair and light them on fire in the streets.
I'm ready to start tearing bricks up and start fighting.
It's going to take militancy.
I'm already on Twitter following numerous groups around the country that are ready to organize.
Like Antifa, Yellow Vests, all that, but keeping that in the back burner for right now.
I'll straight up get armed. I want to learn how to shoot and go train.
I canvass with someone who's an anarchist.
I'm an anarcho-communist. I'm as far to the left as you can possibly get.
Canvass with someone who's more of a Marxist-Leninist.
I'm a communist that believes in pretty much anarcho-syndicalism.
Gulags are actually meant for like
Education.
A lot of the stories we're told in the United States about the Gulag are exaggerated.
Our prisons in the United States right now are far worse.
We have more people in prison in this country right now.
That's kind of what Bernie's like, hey, for education, for everybody, because we're going to have to teach you not to be a Nazi.
What will help is when we send all the Republicans to the free education.
Greatest way to break a billionaire, go out and break rocks and throw over today. You're now a working class person.
Let's force them to build roads.
We need a federal government and a labor movement that is working together to strip power away from capitalists and
Like Bernie Sanders and a cabinet of people make all the decisions for the climate.
if necessary, just destroy property. After we abolish landlords, we don't have to kill them. You know what I'm saying?
This, my friends, is a 5-part series. Okay? Jason Jakes, yo, how you doing, my friend? Josh Pilardi, don't tell me what to do. I'll tell anyone what to do. I won't tell you what to do, you're right, but I'll ask. If you guys want to like the stream, I'd appreciate it. If you give it a share, that's even more important to get eyes on this information. So first of all, as you just saw, those people are fucking warped and brainwashed, okay? Those people think that, first of all, a larger government taking control away from free capitalism, which allows all of us the opportunity to be successful and prosper, and changing the system to where no one has an opportunity to be successful and prosper, we are all equally oppressed. That is what they want to do, okay? These people are fucking brainwashed, okay? What we're going to go through today is we are going to go through the 5-part series that was released on Project Veritas that is going to expose these people via hidden camera operation. And we're going to go ahead.
I'm an anarcho-communist.
Pretty much anarcho-syndicalism.
We are going to go ahead and expose that right now. So, what I want to go ahead and do, because I could sit here and flap my gums, but again, all you're going to tell me is that it's my opinion. Actually, it's not. These fucking days, these fucking liberals, they're believing anonymous sources. So in all reality, my opinion is better than an anonymous source because at least I have my fucking face here to tell you what the fuck my opinion is instead of these goddamn anonymous fucking sources. But let's go ahead and let's get to the first video. I am very interested. Now, I've seen bits and pieces. I have not watched the full 5 parts. in their entirety from beginning to end, like we're about to do right now together. And I'm making sure that we do this together because, again, if I'm going to spend my time doing it and I can have at least one person doing it with me, I'm going to make sure we do it here on a public forum to expose these fucking communists. Now, let me just make a few small adjustments here so we can have the best possible quality sound for you guys. All right, let's get with it.
So if Trump gets reelected, what?
Cities burned.
And the only thing that fascists understand is violence.
Hold on, let's pay attention to that beginning again.
Like, free speech has repercussions.
Bobby G liking the stream, thank you very
Trump
much.
Gets reelected, what?
Cities burned.
And the only thing that fascists understand is violence. So the only way that you can confront them is with violence.
It's a directive from Bernie that we...
I want to be very clear, too, before we get started. These fucking people are the same white liberals that you see at these riots all over the country. Make no mistake. Look at when this was first posted, okay? Posted in January of this year. Recorded before that. They're all talking about how they are planning a large event coming up, okay? That is what you are going to see is the overall theme throughout these videos, that these people are radicalized. This is what it looks like when you radicalize people. We hear on the news, half of the country was radicalized in Syria. They radicalized these people. This is what radicalization looks like, people. This is it. Okay? We are about to have a first-class lesson in radicalizing Americans in real time. These fucking people are fucking communists, and they are brainwashed to be so. No one naturally thinks communism is a good idea because it's fucking retarded. Okay? Bottom line. Have a problem with what I said? Fucking cancel me. I don't give a fuck. Let's go to the video.
Can't attack Warren.
I think it's also fair to point out that when we were in Moscow, for example, people here also were extremely impressed by their public transportation system.
Meet Kyle Jurek, a field organizer in Iowa for presidential candidate Bernie Sanders. Jurek says cities are going to burn if Trump gets reelected. These are worrisome words from someone who works for a man running to be president of the United States. Now, the evidence shows Kyle Jurek has been in politics since 2018, when, according to these FEC records, Jurek was paid $500 while working for the Democratic Senate Campaign Committee. The FEC records also show he has worked for the Sanders campaign for over 6 months. And so far, Jurek has earned nearly $11,000.
Yeah, they seem emboldened. They have been emboldened by Trump and all that rhetoric and shit. But they are scared and senseless of anti-fascists. Even the ones that are kind of like, you know, the right-wing people. The only thing that works, the only thing that fascists understand is violence. So the only way that you can confront them is with violence.
So if Trump gets reelected, what?
Cities burned.
What we gotta do?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a lot of time left. We have to save, human civilization. And obviously, Trump, don't give two about making sure that the world doesn't burn.
Bernie doesn't get the nomination, or it goes to the second round at the DNC convention, Milwaukee will burn. It'll start in Milwaukee, and then when the police push back on that, and other cities will.
Be ready to be in Milwaukee for the DNC convention.
Well, what
I gotta say.
Oh, I plan on being there. What about Des Moines?
We're gonna make 1978 look like a f***ing Girl Scout f***ing cookout.
What does that mean?
Remember what happened when McGovern got f***ed in Chicago in 1978? Riots. People getting beaten by the cops. The cops are gonna be the ones that are getting f***ing beaten in Milwaukee. You're gonna call out the National Guard for that shit.
Exactly what happened
promise you that.
Jurek is clearly very radical, but also very confused about his political history. He talks about riots in Chicago in 1978 when George McGovern was running for president. In fact, the riots were in 1968 when Hubert Humphrey was the Democratic nominee. McGovern ran for president in 1972, and there were no riots that year.
Like, if Bernie doesn't, if they can take Bernie from us, then we have nothing else left to lose.
But at all costs, whatever it takes. And that's why, like, when they're like, oh, anti-fascists are violent, it's because we're willing to go above and beyond what the law says is acceptable. Like, oh, free speech, yeah. Like they try to be like, you know, oh, you're a victim or you're against free speech. No, we're not against free speech. We're against hate speech. And if your free speech is something that like these people shouldn't exist, then I don't give a if it's free speech or not. You don't need to, like, free speech has repercussions. Yeah.
Communists shouldn't fucking exist.
There are consequences to your speech, right? And if your speech is calling for the elimination of people based on race or gender or religious, like for whatever reason, like things that people can't change, then you should expect a violent reaction.
The only people that shouldn't exist are fucking communists. Okay? Equally. Gay communists, straight communists, black communists, white communists, tall communists, short communists, dumb communists. Notice why I stopped?
And you deserve a violent reaction. Because, like, it's just not an acceptable thing. It's not acceptable.
So many people have suicided themselves that have been related to the Clintons in some way or another. It's fucking insane.
Kill the Clintons?
Baby, revolution.
Kill the Clintons?
Revolution is on.
Let me tell you something about this revolution.
No, we don't gotta kill the Clintons. We'll make them kill themselves.
How's that?
Reign of terror.
It's clear in Jurek's idea of a revolution, Democratic candidates like Tom Steyer and Mike Bloomberg wouldn't be safe, and in his world, networks like MSNBC or even moderate liberals wouldn't be immune.
Throw down? I'm ready to throw down now. I don't want to have to wait for AOC.
Yeah, with who though? Who's you gonna throw down with?
Billionaire class, media, pundits. Go walk into that MSNBC studios, drag those up by their hair and light them on fire in the streets.
Guys like that. What are we gonna do with them?
Gulag. Liberals get to fucking wall first.
What are we gonna do with those people that resist the change? Because that's a big deal.
Well, I'll tell you what. In Cuba, what do they do to reactionaries?
They shot them on the beach.
You want to fight against the revolution? You're gonna die for it, motherfucker.
Jurek also has some pretty harsh words for Sanders' rival on the left, Elizabeth Warren. He is particularly critical of her staffers in Iowa.
They're like sending canvassers to our events. Like, we had that climate summit with Naomi Klein and AOC. Warren campaign people show up, want to table the event, want to set up a table for Warren at the event. We're like, get the out of here. This isn't a Warren event. You're not coming in here and scooping up people. Like, no. No.
It is a competition, you know.
Yeah, like, we're not on the same team, guys. Like, you know, like, I know you guys like to say, like, hey, Warren's just like Bernie, but a woman. But guess what?
You done?
We're not on the same team. Yeah, I put it down. Bernie's a bad judge of character. So, like, he has, like, Weaver, who is his, like, one of his, like, campaign, like senior advisors, is a shit fucking human. But he likes him. You know, Bernie likes him. Bernie's, you know, he's 78 years old and he's, like, set in his ways, and he, like, you know, that's one weakness that Bernie has, is he's a bad judge of character with some people. Like, he loves Elizabeth, like, he's friends with Elizabeth Warren. He's friends with this It's not Dan Weaver. You know, what can he do? I mean, Bernie has like kind of started opening up lines of attack against Warren, but he keeps it policy based. People tell me that on the doors, like, yeah, you know, I like Bernie, but I really want a woman to be. It's like, wait, so like you're okay with a woman if she has worse policies? Like just because she's a woman, because she has a vagina, that's why you're gonna vote for her? Like. If we could beat Donald Trump, as long as we nominate a woman. Like, idiot. Like, what the?
They don't get it, man.
Like, the world is on fire. This is an emergency situation, and you're hung up on vaginas.
Is this someone you want to be part of your government? Keep in mind, Jurek was an open book. On day one, he told us he wanted to punch, quote, Nazis, burn cities down if Trump wins again in a free election, and spoke of shooting people if they couldn't be, quote, re-educated. Is Kyle Jurek the true but hidden face of the Sanders campaign? Is the Sanders campaign going to fire Kyle Jurek? Are they going to say he's a lone wolf or an isolated incident? Well, in our next release, you will hear Jurek say some of the most shocking and disturbing totalitarian aspirations ever spoken during a presidential campaign. Stay tuned, America. More to come.
This is the first, people. This is the first part, okay? This is part one. You need to understand that this is real. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to some comments because I just watched that and I was very upset. Listening to you 4,000 feet high. Oh shit, Rami. Good shit. Don't fucking fall when these fucking communists start talking such stupid shit. You're going to slip and fall on their shit. Make sure you're careful, bud. Very serious. Oh, by 4,000 feet, you're not climbing on a mountain, bro. You're flying. Good shit. Vote Fung today, my Cranston people. I don't know how I feel about Fung. I don't live in Cranston. I don't follow the politics. I believe he's a Dem, but I don't really know. I don't think he is a fucking communist, but he's more likely to sell it to the communists if he's a Dem. That's my opinion. I'll have to go back and look. We have to use violence and burn cities because Trump doesn't care if the world burns. How does that not make someone think about the obvious contradictions? Again, I say it all the time. One of the key telltale signs to tell if someone is brainwashed is a complete lack of self-awareness. And that's not something anyone told me. It's just something I've seen. Because people who are brainwashed don't stand for their own ideals. So they'll contradict themselves. You know? Yes, I believe women should be able to do anything they want. Oh, if a woman wants to work a job and do a business her whole life, absolutely. And then 2 minutes later, they're like, oh, I don't want my wife to work. I want to take care of her. I want to support her. Because you're fucking half of that. One of those two things is not really your opinion. One of those two things is something else that someone put in your head and made you believe that you believe. And I'm not saying either one is right or wrong. I'm just saying you can't think both of them. No, his wife and she red side. You know what then? If Fung is red, he can come to my bed. If Fung is red, then I'll rub his head. But, yeah, but Yvonne, they're so fucking lacking in self-awareness, bro. It is fucking mind-blowing. That is the key telltale sign. People who lack self-awareness. And you know why they don't develop the self-awareness? Because it hurts their cognitive bias. It's easier to stay brainwashed because then you don't have to hold yourself accountable for all of your views and opinions. If you say something but you're not actually about it, conditioned, brainwashed, not natural. Everything you say, you should be about. Period. There's no other way to go about it. It is what it is. You know? But I'm going to go right on to the next part because this shit is fire today. We are exposing these fucking people. And I want to go, and everyone will go back and look at that guy's name if you want. Here, you know what? We'll check out the name before we leave. Oh, I can't. If I do that, it's going to go. Hold on. What's that first line? There is none. A human became a vassal of fear, subjected to it, and it turned out that the least dangerous form of existence was constant betrayal. In a situation of fear and betrayal over many years, people survive unharmed only in a superficial bodily sense, and inside they become corrupt. Chapter 3, Our Muzzled Freedom, The Gulag Archipelago, by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. I tried my best on that one. You guys got a fucking greatness out of that for me. Jamie's here in the room with us. So if someone wants to say hi to Jamie, feel free, and I will let her know. She's also going to see it on the TV because I have the video playing on the TV. So again, if you want to Google that first guy, we should Google him and find out if he's went to jail yet. And find out if he's, by the way, find out if he's arrested. And same thing with this guy or these people. I don't know if there's going to be more than one person.
Like, free speech has repercussions.
So if Trump gets reelected, what?
Cities burned.
And the only thing that fascists understand is violence. So the only way that you can confront them is with violence.
It's a directive from Bernie that we can't attack Warren.
I think it's also fair to point out that when we were in Moscow, for example, people here also were extremely impressed by their public transportation system.
On Tuesday, we met Bernie Sanders campaign staffer Kyle Jurek, an extreme radical who has been paid more than $10,000 for his campaign work. We wonder, how many other radicals like Jurek are embedded in the Sanders campaign apparatus? Jurek's ideas are beyond scary, especially his take on the Soviet Union's gulags.
There's a reason Joseph Stalin had gulags, right? Mm-hmm. And actually, gulags were a lot better than what the CIA has told us that they were.
Wait a second. This is crazy talk. I mean, the most comprehensive literary work about the Soviet Union was done by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who won the Nobel Peace Prize for describing the horror, the violence, the tragedy, the carnage, the genocide that occurred in the Soviet gulags. And while we released a video yesterday, this video has even more discussion and praise about these gulags. Quote, prisoners would have their skulls squeezed with iron rings, that a human being would be lowered into an acid bath, that they would be trussed up naked to be bitten by ants and bedbugs, that a ramrod heated over a Primus stove would be thrust up their anal canal, the secret brand, that a man's genitals would be slowly crushed beneath the toe of a jackboot, and that, in the luckiest possible circumstances, prisoners would be tortured by being kept from sleeping for a week, by thirst, and by being beaten to a bloody pulp.
So that was the intention of gulags, right? It's not only to remove the people that were insidious to the state from the state, hey, you guys are all causing problems, you're working against the revolution. We're just going to remove you and put you in Siberia, where you learn the fucking value of being a comrade. And that's that's what it has to be. Our prisons in the United States right now are far worse than anything that they experienced in Gulag. People get raped. People fucking work 12 hours a day. People have to go fight fires in California for $1. You know what I mean? That's fucked up. That's super fucked up. Yeah. The Soviet Union didn't do that shit.
You're not gonna get Bernie to say gulags, but I'm all aboard for gulags. I feel as though there needs to be re-education for a significant portion of our society.
I think he is too.
I mean, but you can't, running for president in the United States, you can't say anything like that, right?
Well, and then like you said, I mean, if people don't want to get on board, it's you know, you were saying that the gulags are better than whatever.
Putting them against the wall.
Yeah.
And the alternative, instead of like trying to like re-educate these people and put them back into society, the only other alternative is to you know what I mean?
Bernie Sanders calls himself a democratic socialist, but Jurek says he is more a communist than a democratic socialist, and he's proud of it. And he proclaims he is not alone.
That's crazy, though, that guy was saying.
Yeah.
It's like, I know we have a lot of, like, the communists and the Marxists, like, on our side, but that's...
I'm one of them. Yeah, and in fact, there's, that I know of, 4 of the organizers in this office are you know, leftists of some degree, further leftward than democratic socialism.
Right.
To what degree, you know, varies, but many of the organizers that I met, actually I didn't even count Justin. So Justin, me, Derek, Danielle, Jessica, are all definitely further left than democratic socialism.
There's a lot of me's in the Bernie campaign.
Like the whole basis of like communism is like people and planet above profit, right? Like we're here to preserve the planet, preserve people. We don't want to have to like eliminate people, right? But if people are going to try to fight back against the revolution, like when you hear about like atrocities committed by like in Cuba, like Fidel and Che, like killing people, like those people that were actively like they were like anti-revolution, they were they're fighting against the revolution. Like in any war, like if you like when you guys were in war and you encountered people that were fighting against you, what did you do to those people? Right? I mean, the same thing holds true in revolution, right? Like you can't abide people like actively working against your revolution. Like you can give them a choice. Be like, hey, you can join the revolution. You can not be a bootlicker. You can sit idly by and allow it to happen. But if you're gonna take up arms against the revolution, then you should expect a violent response, right? Like it's natural.
Fight or die.
Yeah.
What they kept in the revolution.
Is this guy fucking brainwashed? Like, what a fucking moron. Like, what a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Like, first of all, especially when you're talking about America, who the fuck do you think the revolution is? Who is the revolution? Right now in America, the revolution is ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Major League Baseball, National Football League, National Basketball Association, professional soccer. I mean, you name it. Goodyear tires. Everybody. They're all the revolution. The revolution is everybody. You know who the revolution is not? The people that love America and the people that are like, protect the Constitution and stop a fucking government overthrow. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want the government, aka right now, the people pushing for big government, and traditionally the people who have always pushed larger for big government, and to make liberal changes to our Constitution and to our laws. I wonder why they're called that, as opposed to the other type of people who want to make small conservative changes to our laws and to our way of living, okay? We have the people who want to make these liberal changes, okay? This is fucking mind-blowing. And there are people right now who will, like, defend these people. So here's the thing. As brainwashed, this guy's radicalized. That's the difference. This guy's brainwashed, but he's fucking radicalized, okay? The difference with the people that are just defending them, that will blindly defend people like this, is exactly that. They don't even understand why they're defending this person. They can't justify the things that he's saying in their ideological what is right and wrong. This is exactly how the Nazis felt when they were looking at taking over and killing people. and the Jews and all the people that they killed, they talked about just like this guy is talking. Like it's nothing. Like, let's eliminate people. Like, I've been out here since day one saying I'm against a civil war. It can't happen. But these people's attitude, they don't get it. They don't understand. They have it. They're off. They don't know who their enemy is. They've been ideologically subverted. Their ideals are right and wrong. They are misguided because they don't know who their enemy is. They're fighting right now people that own businesses and provide jobs so they can work and they can make money and they can become successful. People leave the type of places that they are talking about to come to America. And they want to do this to our country, and people defend this. And this is who is out on the streets right now causing these riots and inciting these riots. And if it's not these guys, it's guys just like them. But I'm going to go back to this because this guy is, if this only gets worse, I can only imagine where we're going from here.
Yeah. And that's kind of where we're at right now. We're at one of those moments in human history where it's like, we're fighting for survival. We're fighting for the survival of the entire human race.
What the
We're fighting for the survival of living creatures on planet Earth. And you know, there's some people that will stop at nothing to preserve that, right? Like to see the human race continue into the future, right? To try to save the planet from destruction. And no matter what country or what laws that exist, they're irrelevant to. There are things greater than those systems, right? There are things that are more important than the rule of law in the United States when it comes down to the existence of the human race. And that's where we're at, unfortunately. And like this is like there are probably no other points in human history, in like recorded human history, where like the stakes were as high as they are right now. Like we are at a we're at the end. We're at the end of the road. And like the way we choose to go is going to determine like, hey, are we going to continue as a species, or are we going to burn up in a center?
Jurek goes on to say that even violent groups like Antifa are folded quietly into the Sanders campaign staff.
So I know you have like the Antifa sticker on your laptop. Have you ever been in any of those like crazy?
There was a couple things that events they came to Lansing and they came to Ann Arbor. I was there for those.
Did you ever like help out or participate in any of it?
Yeah, I mean I didn't help organize it. Right. But I was there in support. You know, I have yet to punch a Nazi.
There's some here. A lot of them are probably on the Bernie campaign. But there are some there's a DSA chapter here, so like some of the DSA folks are probably engaged. We've been looking for an action to like participate in, like in regards to like, oh, look at that action.
That's it.
But like in regards to like immigration and ICE, we've been looking for something to pop off where we can pop right back off.
Earlier this week, we sent one of our journalists into Jurek's office to check on his status.
I've met him a few times. I met him at an event with Rose, and we were talking about policy and stuff.
Yeah, he's fabulous.
Okay.
So, yeah, just life. It's so unfortunate because he's been here like all summer.
Yeah.
Like, he's really put a lot of...
Because I'd met him a few times, but I was busy with other campaigns,
Yes.
But he didn't get fired?
Not that we know of.
What would you kind of consider yourself, like where on that spectrum?
I'm an anarcho-communist, so like I'm as far to the left as you can possibly get, but I'm also very libertarian. Like so, like there's two axes. One is capitalism versus communism all the way, and then one is authoritarianism to libertarianism,
right?
Like on the bottom. So if you're in the bottom left-hand corner, you're libertarian, but you're also communist. So like a lot of what they call, sometimes they're called libertarian socialists,
right?
And sometimes they're called anarcho-communists, but those two are pretty much interchangeable. And then on the top you have like your Marxist communists. So like your Stalins and your, you know, like they're very authoritarian communists, right? So there's a great spectrum in between on the, of like authoritarian to libertarian, but also on the left.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes I get up and I feel pretty authoritarian. And sometimes I get up and I you know, I feel normal, like my libertarian self. But normal, you know, one thing I say is if you can't handle me at my most communist, you don't deserve me at my most libertarian.
That's
interesting. If you can't handle me at my most communist, then you don't deserve me at my most anarchist.
I just want to say, people, don't be like these people, please. Even if you disagree with me and anything that I say, and you think that these people, if you think these people sound smart, say something in the comments. Let me go ahead. Who's here? Ray is here. Hey, Pablo. What's going on, my friend? Ray's at work listening to us. I don't know if anyone's supposed to know that. But, don't be like these people, man. This is fucking ridiculous. Let's see what else they have to say. Project Veritas. And people, there's 3 more of these to come. 3 more of these. Where in the fucking world can we go from here? You know, it's fucking wild. Oh, wait, I didn't do anything. Hold on, guys. Number 3 is coming. I'm doing it right now. I made a mistake on the computer here. And here we go.
I'm telling you, guillotine the rest. I'm ready to start tearing bricks up. I'm gonna learn how to shoot and go train. I'm ready for revolution.
Okay. Here we go. Straight up. Do I still sound crazy? Do I still sound crazy? Do you believe that this is manufactured yet? Or do you believe it's fucking, genuine and grassroots and authentic? Because look, January 21st, 2020 is the date this was exposed. Recorded even before that. Okay? Pay attention, man. Don't fall for this shit. Don't fall for this shit.
What Bernie did was he inspired people and he created a movement.
We need to wake people up.
Washington.
We can't allow this to become a fucking war zone.
Cities burned.
I think it's also fair to point out that when we were in Moscow, for example, people here also were extremely impressed by their public transportation system.
Guillotine the rich. The Soviet Union was not horrible. I always said, I'm a communist. I'll straight up get armed and leave it to the Soviets to make the most badass, most effective gun in the world. The destruction, the destroyer of imperialism and colonization.
Well, at least he's right about something. The AK-47, and don't worry, Andrew Cuomo. I know we're in New York State. This is a replica. The AK-47 was developed by Mikhail Kalashnikov in 1947 and is the most ubiquitous rifle in the world. No wonder, since it has 100% hit probability at even 100 meters. Our next Soviet sympathizer from the Sanders campaign is South Carolina field organizer Martin Weisgerber. If you were shocked by our expose on Sanders staffer Kyle Urich's affinity for the Soviet gulags, hold on, because this...
Oh, what happened?
Guys got him beat. Weisgerber even suggests dissolving our democracy might be a good start for a Sanders dictatorship.
So, do we just dissolve the Senate, House of Representatives, the judicial branch, and have somebody like Bernie Sanders and a cabinet of people make all the decisions for the climate? I mean, I'm serious.
Yeah, the executive.
We can't address the immediacy of the climate change with the current
gridlock.
What the fuck? We are talking about people who think that Donald Trump is some sort of fascist authoritarian, yet this guy thinks we need to appoint one man as basically our dictator and just start making decisions for us via a violent revolution. I want you to understand the hypocrisy there. And its propaganda is being felt on everybody. Your friends, people that you know in your life, are being affected by the same propaganda. I am here to break this. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot say that Donald Trump is an authoritarian, which he's not, and that he's a fascist, which he's not, and then literally be a fascist and an authoritarian. Like, how is this guy... I don't know. Let's go back to the video.
Weisgerber laughs about sending the rich to the guillotine, getting armed, and starting a revolution. Words that sound more like they were from the pages of Mao's Red Book than from a Democratic presidential campaign staffer.
Knock on wood. If Bernie was to lose, I would like to see yellow vest protests like here, stateside.
I'm already on Twitter following numerous groups around the country that are ready to organize yellow vest protests. Okay. I mean, I'm ready.
Let me know.
I'm ready to start tearing bricks up and start fighting.
Good.
I'm no cop, bro. I'll straight up get armed. I want to learn how to shoot and go train. I'm ready for the revolution, bro.
All right.
I'm telling you.
Good stuff.
Guillotine the rich.
Hell yeah. The guillotine's very humane too. Yeah, it's humane. It's humane.
It's more humane than the gulag.
No, I mean, that's debatable. Like, I'm of the belief that, I read a little bit about the gulags. I think they're blown a little bit out of proportion. They were mostly for re-education. I don't know, what?
Montana's like, she hears this spiel from me all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought you guys were like, no way. Yeah. But I think they were more for education. I think they're more for education.
The gulags are founded as re-education camps.
Right.
What? I mean, we have a joke that people we don't like, we say, send them to the gulag. What will help is when we send all the Republicans to the re-education. Can you imagine Mitch McConnell?
Oh, God, he wouldn't survive a day.
Lindsey Graham. I only learned this in college when I started studying the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was not horrible.
No, it wasn't.
I mean, for women's rights...
Where did he learn it? I only learned this in college when I started studying the Soviet Union at his indoctrination facility, known as college. I mean, come on, people. Come the fuck on. Like, this is fucking unbelievable. I'm blown away by this. I'm almost nervous.
The most progressive place to date in the world.
Racial rights, too.
Yeah.
Belomor Canal was constructed by 126,000 Gulag inmates from 1931 to 1933. It's estimated that up to 25,000 people died while building the 141-mile-long canal.
The first gulag that was opened, have you heard about the Belomor Canal?
No.
They dug a canal. The plan was in 1922, I think, to dig a canal from the White Sea all the way to St. Petersburg. A long way.
Okay.
If you look on the map.
Russia's big, yeah.
Right, yeah. And the whole point of it was going to be called the Bellamore Canal. And I spent a whole semester actually studying for primary accounts from the Bellamore Canal. The whole point of the Bellamore Canal, there were no machines allowed. They forced the people to dig with shovels and hay. The whole canal, right? And you should see the people writing about their time at the Bellamore Canal. There's this one guy, he was a thief from Georgia who had been captured and he was sent to the Bellamore Canal to work. And in his writing, he's like, I reject all thievery, I reject that past life. And he said, capitalism made me a thief because when there's poor people, there's going to be crime. He said, I went to the Bellamore Canal and I worked, and he became a shop worker, which is what they call the leading worker. Whoa. People who always met.
They literally captured this guy and forced him to write communist propaganda in the exact same way that Joe McCain did. Not Joe McCain. Yeah, Joe McCain. But I don't know why I'm like drawing a blank right now. But yeah, Joe McCain. Same way that he did. And this guy is quoting it. Communist propaganda.
At the quota and exceeded the quota. And like people came from America to work in the Bellamore Canal for the Soviet project, for the communist project. Wow. It's a beautiful thing. And the gulags became a lot more.
John McCain. I don't know why I said Joe. I was drawing a fucking blank.
There's a tool. It's like a boogeyman.
You know what? We have more people in prison in this country right now than
just want to say I live in Massachusetts.
Preach. We do.
It's a fact.
It's essentially slavery. Disproportionate.
Oh, it is. Well, and there's no education.
No. I would like to see, maybe this is a little bit sadistic of me, call it what you want, but I would like to see the billionaires kind of thrown into an American gulag, so to speak.
I say that all the time.
Break rocks.
But build something concrete. Let's force them to build roads, rebuild our roads, rebuild our dams, rebuild our bridges. Let's force them to do that.
Bernie Sanders is center left for me. I'm like a Marxist-Leninist party in this country.
And Bernie's great. I mean, he's center left to me. He's great. He is the step in the right direction. That man is. I mean, it just fills me with so much joy what he's done. Like, he is. Our children will be learning about this. I think so. I mean, he transformed this nation, whether he wins or not.
Yeah. Well, he is left, but I don't know if he's left enough. Like, that's my problem. I don't know what he's down to do. Let's say he does, like when he does get into office, because I think he will. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know if he's going to be like, all right, we're going full on socialism. You know, you can call it democratic, whatever. I don't know what he's willing to do.
Debate about what can he do, how much can he do. The thing is, the president, shockingly, and I think we've seen this with Donald Trump, can actually do a lot.
Executive.
Yeah, people don't realize that. Executive orders in terms of the environment. He can pass a lot. That just is passed. Also, appointing people. Also, what Bernie did was he inspired people and he created a movement that started to flood Washington.
Yeah.
Democratic socialists are running all over. There's so many Democratic socialists running in 2020.
Weisgerber, an avowed communist, says he also supports anarcho-syndicalism, a method for workers in a capitalist society to gain control of an economy. He claims his influence came from his parents and the teachings of Engels and Marx.
I think I was radicalized from the day first day I was born. Well, my dad is a Marxist. Like, straight up from Belgium.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he took part in Paris 60 and all that.
Okay. I remember you said in the office, you were talking about like Marxist-Leninist. And I agree with it, but I can't just say it. It's not super popular, I think. It's not yet.
What? Sorry.
Like being Marxist. Yeah, Marxist affiliated lines.
I've always been unapologetic about it. You know, when I was younger, I always said, you know, I'm a communist, but I was being, you know, little I didn't really know what that meant. I just knew that in my house we had, Das Kapital and Engels and Marx and all that shit. In theory, I'm a communist that believes in direct democracy, direct communes on everything, pretty much anarcho-syndicalism. Nice. Unions, everything. But I don't know how effective that is in addressing climate change.
Yeah, in a corporate, we live in a corporate, we live in a globalized system.
Weisgerber says radicals in the Sanders campaign are on the rise.
Everywhere. So what Bernie's doing is, in the long run, he's flooding the opposites with people that are like, oh wait, people like you and me that 4 years ago were like, this is impossible. Now we're like, oh shit. I mean, I'm even saying, with my level of radical, if this is where we are now, if this is where we came from 4 years ago to now, when there's openly socialist people leading in polls,
it would never happen.
What's going to be 4 years from now?
His mom, who works for NPR's WBOR in Boston, is so far left she doesn't feel comfortable sharing her ideology with her own network.
My mom is very left as well, but she can't make her views known because she works for WBOR, which is NPR, so she's more held back. But
yeah, you gotta be.
But then I started studying it, and that's what I studied in college. I studied Soviet history.
Wow.
I became the resident Marxist. But yeah, I'm all about complete seizure of the means of production, nationalizing everything.
Nice.
The biggest thing with being a Marxist is you can be a Marxist in how you analyze history.
Okay.
Rather than be a Marxist in how you think the future should, the path we should take, right?
Looking backwards.
So for me, I started as a Marxist, like, my analysis of history of the past is Marxist. Like, I believe everything has been formed by class struggle.
Yeah. But since medieval times.
Right.
Yeah, you have the field workers. It's always been a caste system.
Even before that, the establishment of private property to me was what began. Like, misallocation of resources was what divided people. Leave it to the Soviets to make the most badass, most effective gun in the world.
Engineering, great.
The destroyer of imperialism and colonization.
I mean, everywhere.
That's why I want to get it tattooed on me.
Over the last 2 weeks, we've exposed two potentially violent extremists, or shall I say mainstreamists, inside the Bernie Sanders campaign. Last week on Fox News, former White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders pointed out the complete absurdity and hypocrisy by saying this.
And if this was the opposite and somebody on Donald Trump's campaign said something half as outrageous as this, you would see it all day, every day, by all of the mainstream media.
Apparently the campaign is so heedless, they're not even going to issue an official comment to anybody about the behavior, as Jesse Waters alluded to.
We haven't been able to independently verify the video, but we reached out to the Sanders campaign for comment and haven't heard back.
Now, if you work in mainstream media and you were told not to run this story, you could be an insider. You could change things. Contact us at veritastips@protonmail.com. And perhaps the reason they're not issuing a response, they know these are not isolated incidents. They know these people are not unique in their thinking. They know that more is coming. Stay tuned.
Okay, so to get to a couple comments before we go to part 4, because there is still 2 more of these fucking crazy videos on these goddamn communists. This is fucking wild, people. This is happening right now. And I'm telling people, I'm on Facebook telling people, hey man, they're brainwashing us, man. And you know what's happening? People are so fucking blind to it. No one wants to accept reality. Bobby G. Why is this done at a bar and not somewhere professional? Because these people are most likely living in their parents' basement, similar to myself. But they're most likely, they don't have a place to go and hang out. Or it's probably because the guy who's the insider is afraid to go to their houses. That's what I'm assuming. Because I know I would probably feel the same way, because if you're in someone's house and God forbid they catch you with a camera or they catch you with this equipment, you're in trouble. But if you go out into a public place, it is what it is. It's even more innocuous because they're speaking this way in publicly. Imagine how they speak in their own homes. But let's go to number 4.
So if Trump gets reelected, what?
Cities burned.
I'll straight up get armed.
The gulags and the persecution of the kulaks and things like that are exaggerated.
It is unfortunate that we have to make plans for extreme action. We don't want to scare people off, so you kind of got to feel it out first before you get into the crazy stuff like Antifa. You know, you're talking about the yellow vests.
It's going to take militancy, and if necessary, just destroy property.
I think it's also fair to point out that when we were in Moscow, for example, people here also were extremely impressed by their public transportation system.
Meet Daniel Taylor and Mason Baird, both field organizers for the Sanders campaign in South Carolina, and the next 2 subjects of our undercover investigation of extreme radicalism inside the Sanders campaign.
I canvassed with someone who's like an anarchist, and I canvassed with someone who's more of a Marxist-Leninist, and so we do it. I mean, we attract radical, like truly radical people to the campaign, but that's obviously not like outward-facing sort of.
And Bernie, does he know that?
Well, I think the goal is just to build a coalition of people, and a lot of those people who do that kind of work are their politics fall well outside of the American sort of norm. So they're Marxist-Leninists, they're anarchists, they're these types of folks, and they have more of a mind for direct action, for engaging in politics outside of the electoral system.
More radical.
Like here we think of, gulags being sent off to Russia, to Siberia, and like lock you up, throw away the key. And they were saying that is such a misconception. They're like re-education camps. Mm-hmm. Do you know anything about that?
Pardon me?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think at least my reading of kind of that Cold War era is that you had 2 massive, you had these huge opposing ideologies and empires and superpowers, and when you have that much power, each side is going to do everything it can to control a narrative and to sort of have its own truth. To support its sort of power structure and things like that, and so I think that if we pay attention to the lived experience of people in post-Soviet states and in Russia and things like that, then we do find that like a lot of the stories were told in the United States about the gulags and the persecution of the kulaks and things like that are exaggerated. I think there were certainly excesses and certain, our own empire, our own American empire has its own excesses, of course. So I think, I think that it's probably exaggerated on our side, and maybe there's also a little bit of over justification or excuses for the excesses that probably did occur, but we certainly don't have a straight perspective on that stuff here in America.
I gotta try to pronounce it. Dekulakization was a Soviet campaign in 1929 to 1932. Arrests, deportations, and executions of millions of kulaks and their families. As a result, historians believe as many as 5 million people may have died. That is fucking insane. Nobody talks about it because these people are glorified.
This hasn't worked. We've tried it for 3 years. He's still there, and he gets stronger.
Well, for me personally, I have no problem going all in on the campaign stuff because you are planting a seed. You need people to understand that the things that we're fighting for are things we should have had all along. But for a lot of people, it seems extreme because it never has been. You know, a lot of the social programs that we're pushing are things that other countries have had for a long time, but we've never had. Like the whole socialist thing 4 years ago was a lot more toxic than it is today. I think people are finally starting to realize that maybe it's not such a bad thing.
What's troubling is Barrett and Taylor both speak of the possibilities of extreme violence coming from the Sanders campaign and want to keep it hush-hush in order, quote, not to scare people off, unquote.
You all look so mild-mannered, but boy, you've got fire in your belly, don't you?
Well, I think, you know, we don't want to scare people off. So you kind of got to feel it out first before you get into the crazy stuff. But
what kind of crazy stuff? Tell me.
You know, we were talking about, you know, more extreme organizations and stuff like Antifa. You know, you're talking about the yellow vests and all that. But, you know, we're kind of keeping that in the back burner for right now.
Do you think that when Bernie's elected and now you've got all those Trump people, and we're talking, I mean, that was a pretty tight split. So you've got almost half the country that are haters. How are you going to tame that beast? What are you going to do with them? I mean, you need something really radical. What you're proposing is great, and I agree with you. The best thing is by example, but that takes forever. I mean, these people are angry.
Yeah.
They're not gonna.
Yeah, I mean, it is a huge source of anxiety for me. So, it's like, that's definitely.
But like, I think we have to think in those ways, right?
Absolutely, and it's with my family too. I mean, it's like, you know, within my family that I have this kind of
Trumpites,
confronted by that kind of stuff, and not even explicitly Trump people, just, you know, that like they, like, if push came to shove, they would go that way. That is, it's sort of, it's going to take, you know, it's going to take militancy.
How do we do it?
Militant labor movement, is kind of our last real kind of chance before, you know, we try other means, and I just don't see it as that. An empire's never been sort of toppled through internal struggle, so it's like, I don't really see that working out, you know?
You know, where do we have all this momentum, where do we go after it's over, regardless of the outcome? Because it's not gonna, I feel like change is not gonna happen easily, regardless. Even if Bernie is elected, change will not come swiftly or easily. So we have to, you know, the connections that we're making now within the campaign and with other volunteers and at events, it's very important that we retain that, regardless of the outcome. And, you know, it is unfortunate that we have to make plans for extreme action, but like I said, they're not going to give it to us, even if Bernie is elected.
Barrett is so extreme, he speaks as if it's common knowledge Sanders will, quote, abolish landlords, unquote, and even compares Sanders' revolution to the Russian Revolution of 1917. He seems to think that even though he'd like less bloodshed, armed struggle is inevitable.
After we abolish landlords, we don't have to kill them. You know what I'm saying? that's my feeling. I think that's damaging to the soul. But there you go, Mike. You know, there were plenty of excesses in 1917 that I would hope to avoid.
But like.
Admire it.
I'm very, like I said, I'm very black and white. I see things in very binary terms. And I just see a big clash happening, and it's going to be a power struggle. And power struggles are not nice. You don't talk your way out of them.
No.
It's the strong, you know, it's the law of the jungle.
Right. I think.
So how do you jungle up?
I think it goes back, again, for me, it's like labor. I think that's a big source of power for us.
Hey, Mike with the Bernie Sanders
try
campaign.
to gain as much leverage and power.
Are you Miss Sandra?
in the short time that we have before.
See you back again. Take care.
1917 Redux.
Right, because I mean it's really incredible. I mean, you know, Lenin didn't have the internet. They weren't. I mean, they weren't. I mean, they were a peasant society. I mean, it was like, so, you know, I would hope that like, that we would, we'd be doing a bunch of prep work, right, before the capitalists got hip to what we were doing, I guess. I mean, that's kind of the best. I'm not excited about the prospect of like armed struggle. So that's.
But don't you see it? Do you see it as inevitable or not?
I see it as possible.
Huh?
I see it as possible.
Yeah.
You do?
Oh yeah.
I just never want to kill anybody. You know.
You just reminded me of.
Scares me a lot. So.
But aren't in building this movement, are we moving it further along that way? Is that where we're going with it?
I would say most people in the movement are in it to avoid going that far. And there's a wing of the movement that sees that as the
inevitable.
Yeah.
Baird speaks of nationalizing things like Facebook and Google before diving into his talk of violence towards people's property.
And the first time in like my life, maybe even, I mean, probably most of our lives in American history, we're going to have, like, if we have Bernie in the White House, we're going to have a real plan for dual power, where we'll have the presidency and we'll have a mass movement right alongside it. That's like going to be like institutionalized and supported, and I'd like to participate. That's part of it. Is once we.
All right, now let me break this down for you. When he's talking about a movement, okay, there is another movement going on, and we have the presidency, and it's called a populist movement. And if you look up what populism is, okay, populism means putting control of government back in the hands of the people and taking away power from the government, okay? These people are like, literally give the government all of your power. Take power from the people, which is what he's saying Bernie would. He's admitting, working for the Bernie campaign, that they would do this. This is what they want to do. The overall goal of socialism, communism, Marxism is to take power away from the people and bring it to the government. Bring it to a central organization. Nothing else. That's it. Like, there's no, everything else, like, you could tell a story and you can tell it and twist it and change it. More government has never helped anybody. Period. It's that simple. Here we go.
Break up Google, break up YouTube, break up Facebook. For me, nationalize these things. Right. Then that'd be.
The word nationalize, if you don't know, means to give the government control over Google and Facebook. So when you nationalize something, the government's now in control. Obamacare was nationalized healthcare. So the government made your healthcare decisions instead of anyone else. And that shouldn't be the case scenario. Always privatized, which means the people control it, not the government.
A huge step forward as far as education and that stuff goes.
So, like, how does Bernie really plan to do it, though? I mean, like, I get all that, and now, but he's planning to fund all his programs from them. So how are they? I mean, they're not just going to roll over and die and say, "Here's my money, redistribute it."
Yeah.
How does that work?
I mean, it's going to take. I mean, that's when we get into like when we get into really nuts and bolts stuff. That's what I struggle with thinking about is my only answer is kind of like vague is just like having, the movement and having and snowballing that movement and thinking more explicit, like maybe thinking less about thinking less about persuading people and more about mobilizing the people we already have. So that's why I emphasize mobilizing the people that are already with us instead of persuading.
Mobilizing is another word for further radicalizing, driving someone into action, taking someone who's motivated and pushing them into action. That's what mobilizing is, okay? So when he's talking about mobilizing people, he means further radicalizing other socialists, okay? This is what's actively happening. As we debate on Facebook, okay, and I myself am calling people communists because they're doing it, okay? But as we even debate on Facebook, these people are going further left because they're refusing to understand what's actually going on. They're so brainwashed into thinking that our country is evil, so they believe what these people believe, which is ridiculous.
People who might need persuading, because at the end of the day, these people, like reactionaries, and as you go further right, reactionaries, and fascists.
But you're going to have a clash.
Right. Well, these people are motivated by fear. And if we mobilize and if we make a show of force and show that, like, hey, we're very strong and we've put in work and we're very powerful now, I think you'll have a good many people who are going to back down off of it, who are going to be so afraid that they're going to back down off that position.
So do you mean like armed resistance?
I hope. I mean, I don't think we're there yet, and I hope not. But just like a militant labor movement that's willing to, strike, and if necessary, just destroy property and things like that. That would be my escalation, right? We would need a federal government and a labor movement that is working together to strip power away from capitalists and preferably directing that violence towards property. At the end of the day, I think this stuff is going to come out through praxis, through the work, and it's hard for me to talk about it in the moment we live in, because I think China today is not what Mao envisioned, right? It was through the praxis of billions of Chinese people, doing the work to create the China today, and so we're never gonna. I think a lot of this stuff, a lot of these answers are gonna come through praxis. We're gonna try things aren't gonna work, we're gonna move on to the next thing, and we're gonna try to be as conscious and intentional about those things, but when you get into a certain level of detail and depth, it's like that's kind of my cop out, is like it comes through the work, the answers come through the work. This is it. I mean, this is the beginning. The campaign is, we're consciously all the time. This is what we're saying all the time on this campaign is, after South Carolina, after the primaries, after the general, this doesn't go away. Mm-hmm. This is and that was Bernie's promise. He said, this isn't Obama 2008 where a massive movement got him elected, and then he said, all right, thanks y'all, goodbye, it's over now. Bernie said that the only way that we're gonna succeed, the only way we're gonna live is if we have this mass movement going after the election.
Taylor seems quite confident that Sanders would endorse extreme action.
If, God forbid, he should lose, can't even think of that. Do you think he'll be on board to join forces with the rest of us and really make, we need a revolution, don't we?
He has a history of protest, and, that's what makes him so attractive to a lot of the younger people who are fed up with bureaucracy, is that Bernie has been out there standing on the picket lines and doing the uncomfortable stuff. And I absolutely think that he would endorse that kind of action because, sometimes that's what you got to do to get it done.
As we continue to expose radicals inside the Sanders campaign, the question must be asked, are these people representative of the campaign or not? If not, shouldn't the campaign disavow these workers? Or are they the true face of the campaign and the candidate himself?
Now, to compile onto that for a second, taking a quick break as I get the next episode, the final part here, okay? Something I forgot to bring up before, that third guy, the one who was sitting at the table with his girl next to him, he referred to himself as a Marxist-Leninist. That guy even said his dad was from Belgium. He was born a Marxist. That means he was indoctrinated. If you don't see, and if you saw how strong it was with him, it was ridiculous. Jay Richter, what a piece of shit. Mason Bard is a traitor. No, he's going to win. Yeah, he's going to win. That's Bernie. He's obviously not going to fucking win. Not at this point, anyway. He's fucking out of there. And if I have anything to say about it, he's never coming back. So
if Trump gets reelected, what?
Cities burn.
We're going to our final video here. Part number 5. And then we can discuss a little.
Elizabeth Warren also made another promise about how she will go.
Now, this one's in February 3rd, okay? February 3rd of 2020. So this is the final video, came out in February. During the impeachment, and that's why they weren't talking about it. During the impeachment, before the pandemic, way before George Floyd, okay? Let's take a look.
Elizabeth Warren also made another promise about how she will govern if elected.
We have to stop putting trans women who are incarcerated into prisons with men.
And it's like when you come from where I come from, no one gives a on the goddamn pronoun. People want to know how you're going to create a job. No brainer rather than goddamn lose an election.
Democratic presidential hopeful Elizabeth Warren is fighting hard to stay relevant. Polls show Warren way behind leader Bernie Sanders. It seems she is pulling out all the stops in an effort to please voters. But our investigation has shown that people on her staff believe her pandering is all wrong.
But at the end of the day, if we're going to prioritize like pronouns over making sure people have a decent standard of living, that's wrong.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's like when you come from where I come from, no one gives a on the goddamn pronoun. People want to know how you're going to create a job. And like I'm here for like the pronoun things, but I just feel like I shouldn't have to say like he, him, his. Like shouldn't it just be implied?
Right.
I tell you otherwise.
Yeah, if I tell you otherwise, then yeah. But I mean,
and like I've been called out for saying something like that, but it's like this is why we lose elections because we're zeroing in on like that.
Recently, Warren promised, if elected, half of her cabinet would be women and or non-binary people. Some on her staff like that kind of talk.
I'll say it. I love the staff. Like, I love all the staff, but the queer staff and the trans staff, that's the staff.
Yeah, us straight white dudes just...
You ruin it for everyone. I'll say it. No one likes you.
But some on her staff think pronoun politics doesn't play well with the voters. In fact, field organizer Angel Alicia thinks all this talk of pronouns is actually a detriment to her campaign.
Don't call her she in front of her. She'll be very upset.
Really?
They choose the they, them pronouns. And it's like I'm still trying to get up to speed on that. But at the end of the day, we become the party that has prioritized that rather than putting food on the table for working families. And it's like, that's why we lose. When we're zeroing in on something, and I'm not saying it doesn't matter because we should make people feel comfortable and accept.
Sure, absolutely. Say, I call you whatever you want.
Yeah, when you put that over making sure people have decent jobs and health care, like it's no-brainer rather than goddamn lose an election.
Yeah. Warren's campaign believed they ticked off all the social justice boxes, but when they didn't get the endorsement of the LGBTQ caucus in the state, some staffers told our journalists how they really felt about the organization.
The chair of the Stonewall Caucus, which is like the LGBTQ caucus in the state, which there has very little doubt and credibility. Like the membership is like 20 or 30 people. It's not even big.
And also just like the way that they operate and
like handle themselves, cheapens everything.
They literally, first of all, they were with Gillibrand, but they're like, Lauren's my second. Like,
and then they were like playing hard to get, like trying to get us.
And we didn't want to do that because we didn't need to. Like, you either come during the winters or you go on amateur hour.
Right.
And they endorsed Booker. And then they
who?
Booker. Oh. Because the Booker's team was like, oh, come here, like with open arms, because they need anything.
They were like mad that I didn't call them to kiss their ass after Gillibrand dropped out because they're in my church.
Right. Like the Bernie people called them like 5 minutes after, and they didn't even know. Like, yeah. And they were pissed about that because they were like, I didn't even have a moment to like soak it up or anything. Like the Bernie people probably trying to get me to endorse. It just shows how spineless the Bernie people are. Kind of like, oh, the person cried for at least 10 minutes for each other to swipe them, but we didn't need them anyway. The main point is they endorsed Booker because we weren't going to like lay out a red carpet for that and whatever.
And we never will. I will never do that.
No, I mean, do you like our candidate or not? We don't need to kiss your ass.
They're a liability, not an asset.
Honestly.
Angel Alessia is clearly all in for Warren, yet reveals he feels out of place in the campaign and at times is targeted by his own colleagues.
So ridiculous that we're not having those in my Twitter bio, and I was like,
"What your pronoun?"
Yeah, so I threw them in there just to like satisfy the folks.
Can't even deal with that. I mean,
it's just identity politics.
Yeah.
And again, I get called on it for calling it that, but it's like I'm a brown man. You can't tell me like I had to do a diversity.
You could pass for white. Don't.
I had to do a diversity and inclusion training, and I'm like, what are you going to tell me, you white liberals, that I don't already know? I love Paige, but like, there's sometimes where she has like ego, but like she's one of those people who's like, well, my intersectionality and peace and love, but it's like you're like just certain gestures that she makes, like facial expressions, like it's like
eye rolling and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, off, because if I do that to you, then you know I am the worst person. I am a transphobic person or whatever you try to depict me as, and it's like. Like,
I mean, again, they can.
It's like you're the only straight here or something. I'm like, who cares? I'm like saying you're the only trans here or something. Like, if I said that, that would be taken out of context. I'd be this, and that. But it's like, you know what I mean? Like, this is what the Trump people utilize against us. Because you say dumb shit like that.
Right.
And it's like, I can't sit here and go tell audio, oh, my feelings are hurt. But it's like, one, they're not. And two, like,
exactly.
Why was that even necessary?
They're not.
Because I like women, you're going to ostracize me?
Yeah.
Like, sorry, I don't like sucking dick. Like, I'm defending your right to do that, but like, who cares? I'm not going to sit here and
exactly.
You want to do, so why do you get the pass to do that for me?
Next week is the New Hampshire primary. Although the Democrats say they don't like Trump,
I just want to say that this is far different from the last people that we watched, because this guy is not a fucking radical Marxist, which is what I thought that this video was going to be, seeing as part 5, but it's almost over.
they might dislike each other even more.
Well, that was just more about these people fucking lying and whatnot, which is obviously a problem as well. But you need to understand something, people. Right now in the street, those first 4 videos, that should have fucking woken you up. That should have realized this is what we're dealing with. You know what I mean? These people are looking for any reason to go out on the street and fucking cause problems. You know what I mean? And before you say, well, that's not Black Lives Matter, I want you to understand something. That's not true. Because of what I'm about to show you.
All right. This video is really designed. This isn't new information, by the way. You've probably seen it start getting around. I wanted to cover it because I believe that it's worthwhile to update people who are oblivious, and some of that in being oblivious.
I love this
choice.
guy, though. He's good.
Okay? And I want to be very clear about that. A lot of people choose not to see what is there because they're afraid of what's going to be more so uncovered. Definitely when their opposition, the people that have been telling them this,
maybe we will watch this
are
guy.
in the right. Okay? So let's watch this. I'm going to give you my thoughts. I'm going to wrap everything up after we watch this. So let's take a look real quick. This is Patrisse Cullors. I have no idea how to say her name. She's one of the founders of Black Lives Matter, the organization that is. the move. Look, there's a separation between when people just say Black Lives Matter generically, it's kind of veered off into its own movement just of people that don't even really understand that there is an organization in some cases. But so they're not the exact same. Obviously, they're connected, but they're not the exact same. But we're talking about specifically a founder of one of the three founders of the movement, or the organization, more so, excuse me, in Black Lives Matter. So let's take a look at what she's appearing on some guy's network. I'm not familiar with who this guy is, but she's appearing on this dude's network talking about these different things.
Concerned that there's a lack of perhaps ideological direction in Black Lives Matter that would allow it to fizzle out, as he said, in comparison to Occupy Wall Street. As you are advanced in your own organization, as you all are headed to Cleveland to participate in this Black Lives Movement conference, how do you respond to that particular critique?
He needs to turn his volume up.
Critique from an elder of the struggle that some others share, that I've even shared as well, to be frank, is a concern about, in part because of the co-optation and the appropriation, that a more clear...
We're switching it over.
How do you respond to that particular critique? Again, a loving critique from an elder of the struggle that some others share, that I've even shared as well, to be frank, is a concern about, in part because of the co-optation and the appropriation, that a more clear ideological structuring might be of some value here. But how do you respond to those kinds of, again, loving criticisms?
I think that the criticism is helpful. I also think that it might, I think of a lot of things. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists.
There it is.
We are super versed on sort of ideological theories.
People, this is not an accident, okay? This is not an accident. They understand exactly what's going on right now, okay? They understand wholeheartedly what is going on. These people are not only ignorant to this, they are causing this. Antifa and Black Lives Matter are in the process of a Marxist overthrow of our government. I come with this warning because this is imperative that we actually know what's going on and we don't remain ignorant and uneducated to this. We don't blindly go along with it because it's going to take away our own freedoms, okay? I have been, my whole life, I have been against the government, okay? That's why when I started this channel, my entire thing is wake the fuck up. The people in the government and the media are working together to control your mind. And this is the product of it. Why is there no such thing as a trained capitalist? How come capitalists don't have to brainwash people? Because it's freedom. Capitalism is how we do our trade. But it also, in our country, under the Constitution, it means we have a small government that the people control, not a large government that controls the people. That doesn't even sound like a good idea. So on that, I'm out. We saw some fucking communists. And it should have fucking woke you up and been startling, because these are the people in the streets that are fucking causing these problems. These are the people in the streets that are making this happen. This is not a grassroots thing. This is not about George Floyd. It never was about George Floyd. This is about one thing and one thing only. It is a Marxist overthrow of our freedom under the Constitution to give control to an overpowered and already corrupt government. Taking away the power is what's correct, which is why I support Donald Trump, why I'm voting conservative and conservatives who support the president's agenda, making our country a manufacturing powerhouse once again and enabling people to live great lives and think for themselves and think freely. Because these people were clearly showing that they're against freedom of speech, they're against freedom of thought, freedom of ideology. I might not like a lot of ideologies. I might not like communists. But at the end of the day, I don't think we should round them up and put them in camps and kill them. We should just continue to watch this show. Don't be fooled for it by itself. And when you meet a communist, be like, bro, you're a communist. Steph, hey, Brian, sorry I missed the start. You missed almost all of it because unfortunately, we're almost over. But Steph, I'm glad you're joining me. You're not here as often as you probably would like to be, so I'm glad you made it today. Well, you know what we watched today, Steph? Fucking communists. I highly suggest you go back and watch the video when we're all done and we're off. It was excellent. It was a 5-part expose from Project Veritas, inside hidden camera footage of these radical fucking communists who are looking at overthrowing our government, and they are the ones causing the riots in the streets. But not me. I'm here to stop the fucking civil war. I'm here to smarten people up. I'm here to fucking wake up our fellow countrymen and say, we have people in this country right now that are here because they escaped those things. Because they ran away from a country that had ideologies like this controlling people. And limitations on their freedoms that they didn't want to accept. And now we're going to take those freedoms away in America. That's bullshit. If you want to be a fucking communist, go somewhere else and be a communist. Where they already have fucking communists. Don't try to change our country into a communist country. This is the last beacon of hope for freedom in the world. Remember that. On that note, you guys, I had a blast today. Thank you all for joining me. Much appreciated. I appreciate every one of you for speaking up and for saying the things that need to be said on social media and in real life. My family fled Armenia and some didn't survive the genocide. Venezuela has openings. Let's get the communists back to Venezuela. Let's get them over to Armenia. They can have all the fucking communism that they want there. Make a change. See how well that goes for you. Why are you trying to change this country into a communist country? Serbia has openings. China might not. But you could try. Keep buying those Nikes, though. Making LeBron rich. With that being said, you guys, continue to love your country. Continue to fight for freedom. I appreciate everyone who fights for freedom, and I appreciate everyone who stands the fuck up to communists. Because most oftentimes, that's what these people are secretly. They're going to try to play this little politically correct game, but instead, I'm going to call them brainwashed. If they double down, I'm going to tell them that they're communists. Because I'm not playing the brainwash game. I'm not playing the clown world game. I'm not playing the pretend reality game. I'm here to expose the bullshit. They want to take away our rights, make the government all powerful, and give away our freedom to a global governing body. And create a new world order and do exactly what I've been trying to stop for 20 years. I will be silent no more. I will continue making these videos, whether it's on a Tuesday, a Thursday, or Friday live at 5. Which, by the way, this Friday is going to be a banger. 5 p.m., September 11th, 2020. We have the 9/11 Summit with 2 guests. Ashley Vingy and Steve LaFontaine. A very interesting story. A very interesting group. You don't want to miss it. One of my favorite shows I ever did was when Steve was a guest, and it was great. Because it was a conversation, it wasn't a monologue. That's why I like videos. Also like Yuri Bezmenov, another one of my favorite videos I ever did. Go back in the catalog. Watch him talk about ideological subversion. Watch him talk about active measures. Watch him talk about the Marxist subversion of the United States of America. They told us that we were going to be bringing communism to this country. They told us that we'd have people begging for communism. They got rid of communism. That's it. They don't want it. People who have had it don't like it. The problem is there's no refund. You have to cut your losses. And it never works. And my life ain't long enough to spend my whole life fighting against a fucking communist revolution. So let's stop this shit now. On that note,